have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
For Kamala Harris, what was her problems? Fake energy, terrible at unscripted questions, bad economic and immigration record, right? And so obviously the fake energy, I would say if you're really paying attention, if you're an undecided voter, I don't think it landed for you tonight again. Now, she brought her energy. I think she was definitely more confident than that CNN interview. So you got to give her credit for that. And clearly she has been practicing. Clearly she was rehearsing. You gotta call it what it is. Clearly either someone was speaking to her in her ear, which I can see that happening too, or she really rehearsed. And she is a prosecutor, so that's obvious. But there was a few word salads in there, and she didn't drop the unburdened line, so she kind of avoided that. So that's fine. So let's get into what she had to do. Keep her answers short and clear. I don't think she did that. I would say she failed at that completely, especially in the beginning, like the first half of the debate. She was rambling on. OK, so that's number one. Number two, minimize Trump. Speak about him in the past tense. Yeah, if I'm in her campaign, I'm saying she did a lousy job of that. Right. She kept staring at him like she was obsessed with him.
And policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21.
And I've been saying this in all of my videos, guys, and you guys let me know in the comment section if you agree. I think their obsession with Trump will backfire, and it has backfired up to this point, right? If they keep obsessing over him, it's not going to work in their favor. If she wanted to turn the page, why would you look at him? Why would you keep doing that, right? I just thought that didn't work for her. She looked kind of like she needed him to fight back, and he wasn't going to give her the time of day. So good on him. Separate from Biden by speaking to voters with confidence. She did not separate herself from Biden. I think he did a great job of saying that she is Biden 2.0. She said that she didn't regret anything from the Afghanistan pullout. That was abysmal. And so she loses on that as well.
I do want to ask the vice president, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century.
I'm telling you guys, the best thing that she can do based on her strengths and weaknesses and this campaign, that is such obviously a short notice campaign for her, is to separate herself from Biden. She would get a lot of respect from people from that for doing that. And she still refuses to do that. And I think that's going to backfire on her, of course. So they did go through the big ticket items. They did not speak about the national debt. I don't understand why. Well, actually, I do know why. Because they wanted to bring up the whole race stuff. You know, you question her racial identity and all this other stuff. That's a wasted question. Why don't you guys ask questions that people want to hear? National debt is a thing. What about men and women's sports? Title IX. What about the student loans? Trump had to bring that up, you know? So it's pretty sad that, they didn't even bring that up. So that was lazy of them. So my prediction was what? Either Kamala melts down or it will be a boring debate. Now, was it a boring debate? No, it was actually pretty interesting. So my prediction was off. I don't think she melted down like she did in that CNN interview. So what's the end result, right? What is the end result? Well, let's go back to the very beginning of what I said would happen. I said that unless Kamala Harris suffers a catastrophic failure, the corporate media will spin her performance as great. That's exactly what they're going to say. They're going to say she said all the right things. She questioned Trump. She pushed back, et cetera, et cetera. Trump can do everything right, and they will call him a liar. They will fact check him and smear his performance. I think the one thing the media is going to do is they're going to say Trump was unhinged. He's angry. See, do you hear how loud he was? And clearly he wasn't, but that's what they are going to do, especially ABC, because their coverage of Kamala Harris is 100% positive versus 84% of coverage for Trump is negative. So, there's that. Now, undecided voters. I want you guys to put in the comment section. What do you guys think? And if I have my moderator put this as a poll in the chat, if you are an undecided voter, did you believe what Kamala Harris said tonight? I would say no. And the reason why I say no is because the fracking question absolutely killed her. I don't think she handled that question very well.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah, so thank you.
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes, and I've, again, worked on that.
She didn't even answer that question, by the way. So, I don't think the fracking landed for her, and I don't think the inflation landed for her. And Trump did say something that she failed to say. He said very clearly, we had the best economy under Trump, and I will do it again, right? She can't say anything like that. She didn't say anything like that. So she failed in that department, in my opinion. So if I'm an undecided voter and I'm voting based on issues, not on personality, I would say she failed completely. If I was voting on personality, I still didn't hear anything that Trump said tonight that was explosive, like what happened at the NABJ when he started off by saying, when she asked him that stupid question in the very beginning to even start, right? That was like, a couple of weeks after the assassination attempt, and she just goes in all crazy on him. He didn't give any explosive responses, So even on the personality conversation, I don't think he made any mistakes whatsoever. Like, I don't think he said anything that made someone say, oh, I hate him even more, if that makes sense. So when we're talking about the undecided voters, I want to be neutral and unbiased about this. I thought she was very rehearsed. I thought she did answer questions. I don't think she melted down. She definitely had a certain level of confidence. I do believe that. But if I'm paying attention, and you guys, you also have to understand, I'm doing this live video with you guys. So obviously my perception is going to be different than someone who was just sitting on their couch with their family watching this. So, it doesn't really matter what I think, right? But the point is that if I'm looking at the bigger picture, what I remember about this debate is that she was constantly staring at him. She was constantly smirking. She was constantly sighing. She was emotional, right? It's like she wasn't very calm, if that makes sense. So, I don't think that worked well for her either, to be honest with you. So did Trump win this debate? Yeah, I would say he did. But will the corporate media say he won this debate? No, of course not. Even if it doesn't matter what he does. I mean, they're never going to say he won the debate. We know that. But that's the cool thing about our election. It doesn't matter what the corporate media says, because people got to see what they needed to see. They got to see Trump, who clearly is a confident person, who doesn't hold back, who tells it like it is. And he spoke a lot on policy. I mean, most of his questions was on policy. And he pointed out some things that other people do think about, like, hey, where is President Biden? Do we even have a president? Why is he on the beach like that? Why is he taking that amount of vacations? Why did those 2 wars happen under your guys' watch? Why did we have all these illegals pour into our country? He did those things. So, you know, I don't think he did anything to smear his campaign. I think he did exactly what we wanted him to do. He's not a robot. So, I mean, you could always point something out that he could do a better job in. But I'd say out of the 3 things that I wanted him to do, I thought 2 of them he did very well. And the last one, you know, you could probably say he was a little sloppy on, which was coming off as a very calm person. Anyways, I don't think she did anything correctly except that she answered questions. She avoided the word salads for the most part. She had a few. And but she was too obsessed with him, in my opinion, and she wasn't obsessed with that undecided voter.
Vice President Harris began the debate by punting the first question on the economy.
Do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
It went on from there. Despite the economy being the #1 issue facing the country, the sitting vice president generally reverted to talking points about a few of her policy proposals. Even Harris allies today are saying that she needs to talk more about what she will do for Americans if elected. Senator Bernie Sanders will be here in a second to talk about more about the need for her to fill in some of those blanks. On the border, another vulnerable issue for Harris, she also dodged.
Would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Okay, that wasn't the question. When asked how she would break through the Israel-Hamas war stalemate, Harris said this.
We need a ceasefire deal, and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Okay, but again, how?
I want to speak to you, undecided voter. I'm not going to ban fracking. I'm going to lower your cost. I'm going to do better than what Joe Biden did. If she said a line like that, like, hey, I know that I worked for Joe Biden for the last three and a half years, but I'm running to work for you, and I'm going to do a better job than what we did. So I'm going to bring the prices down. She didn't say anything like that. So that's why I said it's a freaking no for me.